As we round up the year 2021, full of events, full of activities in the implementation of the constitutional force majeure deployed December 16, 2020, I bring you greetings once more from the Secretariat of the Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination, NINAS. Yes, the talk of election that is now being thrown from all quarters is the reason for this broadcast. I want us to put aside whatever we were thinking before to make a rational judgment on this matter that could mean life or death for all concerned. There is now a countrywide consensus, and we're happy to report that. Everybody now accepts that the Constitution of Nigeria, 1999, is the source of all the problems we've been contending with, the source of the instability that is rocking the foundations of Nigeria, because it is in the rejection of what is flowing out of that constitution that we see all these agitations for, exit from the union, whether it is the Biafra agitation or the Odo agitation, or even the agitation for restructuring in the manner that we have seen, or the one of resource control that became armed insurgency or militancy, as they may describe it, or even the one in the north where, something that began as, we all know the story of Yusuf and how it became Boko Haram, and how it has traveled from being Boko Haram to Fulani herdsmen to bandit and back to terror. Everything that is happening is simply on account of the fact that we have not rearranged the union agreement that collapsed, the agreement to be a federation that we reached, fathers reached in Lancaster House, that was truncated in 1966 when the soldiers, stepped into government and holding of power, and the progressive replacement of that federation by a unitary arrangement that began in May of 1967. Of course, we know the war that came from that contention. The war that consumed 3.5 million people was on account of the debate about the terms of the union. Are we in this union? Are we not in this union? If we are, on what terms? That was what they wanted to do in Aburi in January of 1967. And they came back from Aburi, and one side abandoned that. It was all a question of why don't we go back to what we agreed upon? Everything that has gone wrong with Nigeria is just that one question. Why don't we go back to being a federation? And if we can't go back to being a federation, what are we still doing hanging around there pretending to be a union? Because we can only be a union if we're a federation. And so we come to this journey to election that is now, again, renting the air everywhere. That choice that we have come to invite us to make today is one between going to renew the life of that constitution that guarantees all of what we have seen. Whether it is the killings going on, it is on account of the fact that the arms and ammunition are on that exclusive list in that constitution, that the killings are happening the way they are happening. If that constitution goes down today, in 3 months, the Blocs will take charge of their security like it is supposed to be in every federation. That constitution is raising the electricity you don't have is not improving. The electricity will continue to dwindle because generation and transmission is exclusive to federal government. There's nothing that will solve the question of electricity. And you can see the tariffs, the energy costs are going up because the inefficiency, the possibilities of having the availability for 200 million people are locked away by that constitution that puts electricity generation and transmission in the hands of the federal government in a country of this size. And we're still discussing 3,000 and 5,000 megawatts of electricity with a hope to get into 10,000. It sounds mad for a country that has the potential Nigeria has for electricity generation and even transmission. But we chose to lock away that possibility by the exclusive list on that constitution. In a few days, when the prices of petroleum, products will go up again, of course, labor people will jump out, and all kinds of civil society people who cannot find their voice now on the source of the problem. The Constitution of Nigeria is the reason refineries are locked down. The refining is on that exclusive list. There's nothing anybody is going to do to get at petroleum products. For a country that produces 3 million barrels of crude, that sells out 3 million barrels of crude oil every day, our local consumption can be catered for 100% by 10% of that production. That is 300,000 barrels processed at home can give us all the petroleum products we need at our own prices. But no, because this constitution is standing, refineries are on that exclusive list, and therefore whatever the federal government does with refineries is what we get. And the 4 refineries are not producing anything for anybody, and they sell these 3 million barrels of crude oil. Of course, the money is not enough. We had the DG budget office the other day saying in the presence of the president that all the money they get is no longer enough to finance the bureaucracy. And what's the size of this bureaucracy? Nigeria is financing on a monthly basis 812 governments. 812 governments. 36 states, apart from the federal government and all its several 43 ministers, each of whom will have a number of SAs and PAs, all of them with their own assistants and all kinds of things. You come to the governors and their commissioners and the House of Assembly and the Senate and the House of Representatives, all the way down to 7 and 74 local government areas where you have executive chairman and all kinds of other people that go in their various convoys. So all of the money Nigeria makes from all sources, no longer enough to pay for that profligacy of financing 812 governments, when we had only 4 effective governments that did a lot better than what we see now. Local government should not be anywhere near the constitution. Is the internal affairs of the federating unit. And how did we go from 4 regions to 36 states that we have to now finance every month? And so we've come to where all of those things that are wrong, that we now see as insecurity, that we now see as electricity that will not be there, that we now see as refineries that will not work, corruption that we cry about, can only grow because the Constitution 1999 creates massive avenues for monumental corruption and comprehensively protects the potential beneficiaries of corruption. We could go into the specific sections responsible for this, but at least you all know about Section 308 that gives the controllers of the Treasury absolute immunity. And we know about the appropriation provisions that give the heads of the executive branch, spare keys to the Treasury. So in all of this, we've really come to where we must stop and ask ourselves, is it the wisest thing to proceed to going to renew the life of that constitution, to going to renew this regime of damnation by way of election in 2023 that is anchored upon that constitution, that the winners will have to swear to defend, uphold, and govern by that constitution? That is what we are going to get at the end of election in 2023. This broadcast is targeted at those who will be the victims when that happens, because the 1,500 people who may be sworn in when the election eventually happens, that's what it comes to, 1,500 people. They are the ones inviting these 200 million people to their damnation. And NINAS is stepping out today to ask all of you being invited to that exercise, what choice are you making? We have a proposition on the table now. We have a possibility of engaging the source of the problem that has tormented us so much, that has brought us to where Nigeria has become a failed state. Everybody can see it. Nigeria has become the poverty capital of the world. Everybody can see it. Nigeria has become the most, one of the most unsafe places to live on earth. Nigeria has become a place of torment for people who could have been doing so very well if not for this constitution. And so the election, the purpose of this broadcast is to ask us, is it not better to, now that we have this level of consensus from across the country? The other day, I think it was on the 14th or so, 13th of December, that we saw, I'm sure most of us saw the video in which Obasanjo and Sultan and Gumi and all kinds of other people were gathered in Abuja. We saw what happened in the place. They at least agreed that that constitution is the source of the problem. They recommended, they asked the president to, as a matter of urgency, convene what they call a national reconciliation dialogue, another conference. They also want that if that is not done urgently enough, that the country will collapse. We are still talking about election that can take place or not take place in terms of whether we are stopping to fix this problem or we want it to explode first before we begin to fix it. And so if we have this level of consensus where from across the South, we heard what the governor said, that talked about the constitution the other time, everybody now accepts that that constitution cannot carry us going forward. Why are we then shy of accepting to stop and fix it, other than going to compound our situation by going to another election? Because going to another election, from what we already can see, going to another election under this constitution is like carrying fuel, carrying petrol in a bucket to some fire. It will explode. We can all see it, but we are carrying on as if nothing is wrong with the situation. Ninas is asking loudly. Ninas is asking labor. Ninas is asking the church. Ninas is asking the bar association. Ninas is asking the young people that had to come out on the street the other time to talk about police brutality. Everything is coming from that constitution. The reason the police is doing what they are doing to you is because that is their mandate. Let the lawyers who have been going about, talking about police reform and all kinds of reform, the mandate of the Nigerian police, as reinforced by that constitution, is not to provide any protection for you. It is to protect those in power from you. That is the colonial mandate that they sustained to date. And until that constitution goes down, the mandate of the police remains what it is. And the fact that they centralize that police under this constitution makes it worse. That is why anybody sitting, one person sitting in Abuja, is now they want to send all manners of people to go to all kinds of places across Nigeria to do just about whatever they want done. You have no input to what your security arrangement should be, whereas you are the one who knows your environment. You live in our mama. You know who steals goats there. You know who can do one crime or the other. You already have an idea of who is doing what in all kinds of places. The local language, the person who doesn't understand the language, what intelligence will he gather from amongst the community people? So it is a no-brainer that if you have the tap from which these anomalies are flowing, these man-eating anomalies, these things that cost blood, cost lives, cost livelihoods, are flowing that constitution. If we all agree that that constitution is the problem, and there's a proposition, a framework, a process on the table that can enable that can take us to solving that problem, turning off that tap now. Why are we heading to election? For what purpose? The people who are inviting you to election have an interest in sustaining that constitution. Their strategic objective is to keep that constitution in place. The day after the election, the 36 states will remain in place, and so you remain the permanent political minority you have been since 1999, since those 36 states came to replace the 4 regions. The day after the election, the 68 items on the exclusive list will remain. And so whether you are complaining about the killings happening to you, or you are complaining about corruption that you see, or you are complaining about the electricity that you don't have, or the infrastructure that has failed, or the opportunities that you are denied by a quota system that is embedded in that constitution, anything, impunity, everything you complain about will be reinforced by the fact that you went to election under this, by the fact that the election happened one more time under this constitution, because the winners are going to have to swear to defend and uphold that atrocious constitution. The winners are going to swear as a prerequisite for stepping into the office they won to defend and uphold that constitution. That means they are swearing to defend and uphold your enslavement your impoverishment, the killing happening to you. Now, if you join them, they're inviting you to come to election now. We are saying we should stop the journey to election so that we can go into transition. We are not anarchists. We are saying let those in government remain for the period like South Africa did with apartheid in 1990. Let us go and solve the problem. Otherwise, it will explode in our face. It doesn't matter whether it's PDP or APC or mega party that wins. Whoever wins is going to swear to and govern by that constitution. And they are not going to be able to do anything to solve this problem the day after the election. But it will be your fault. It will be because you go to election that will happen to you. If you listen now that Ninas is asking you to listen, to insist that we can't go to another election under that constitution, then we stop and solve the problem. In the period left of the tenure of the current administration, it's more than ample time for us to solve this problem once and for all. But if we insist that election first before we begin to think about our lives, then of course we have to get ready for the consequences of that stupidity, of that foolish decision. We have enough consensus. Why are we carrying on as if we've not agreed on? We have agreed that constitution must go. People have been saying so since a long time, but this is the time we have put a time frame for it to say, look, let us do it before we go to another election. The tenure of the current administration will go to the end of May or so in 2023. Between now and that time, we still have a whole year and 6 months, thereabout. We don't need more than 3 months, more than 6 months at the most to wait to stop the journey to the election. Anybody who says to you that he doesn't that he agrees that the 1999 constitution is the source of all the problems, but he is also inviting you to come for another election under that constitution, is a dishonest person, is the one actually killing you. And that is where the political parties fit in, and the political merchants that are promoting these political parties. All the political parties subscribe to that constitution. You who are being invited into elections, further elections in 2023, it means going with them means that you subscribe to what you see. It means you subscribe to that constitution. If you do not subscribe to that constitution, you must now come to join those who are saying we must stop the journey. There are no two ways about it. If you go to vote to be governed under that constitution, then don't complain when the killings come to your doorstep. Don't complain when the impoverishment knocks down your business, gets to you. Don't complain when your business collapses because the electricity will not be there or the infrastructure will not be there. Don't complain when your children are denied opportunities that they should have. Don't complain when Dangote is given a monopoly over businesses you could all be doing. What is there in refining that only the federal government will now license one person to come and set up a mega refinery? What of all the other business people who can do same? Why can't we do like other countries are doing with their raw materials? You shackle up everybody, lock down the possibility of electricity, lock down the possibility of infrastructure and all of that, and you are thinking that the heavens will fall and all things will turn for good because somebody who is tall or short is elected. We've seen all of them elected. We've seen the outcome. It is that constitution. If we can be sensible and go now to turn off the tap, join hands with those who are working. Ninas has a framework, a time-bound framework on the table to solve this problem now, to turn off that tap now. If we choose to go to reinforce our damnation, our condemnation, by going to election under that constitution, it will be our choice. Let us not look for who to blame when it comes, when the outcome comes. We raised this similar concern before 2015. Nobody listened. Buhari happened. Going towards 2019, we went to Freedom Park Proclamation to say, look, it can only get worse. Let us solve the problem. Nobody listened. Again, they gathered, inviting us to 2023, and we're actually listening and saying, oh, it could be our man, it could be somebody from our part. Let us put on our thinking cap and take a better decision. Otherwise, it will spell life or death for the foolishness or wisdom of going towards election or not going towards election. Let us shut down this journey to nowhere, because it's going to end in disaster for too many people. Thank you.